Welcome to the captivating realm of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our exciting new stories. Enjoy the journey.
Roy Grayson felt a wave of anxiety wash over him as he took in the alien terrain around him. After a rough crash landing, he was disoriented and bruised, yet somehow still alive. Wreckage from his ship was strewn about a clearing in the midst of a dense, vibrant forest. The trees glowed with an eerie light, casting shifting shadows on the ground. "Hello? Is anyone there?" Roy called out, his voice echoing strangely through the humid air. Silence enveloped him, save for the rustling of unseen creatures lurking in the underbrush. He picked up a jagged piece of metal as a makeshift weapon and began to cautiously venture into the jungle. The vegetation was like nothing he had ever seen before, leaves shimmering in iridescent colors and vines appearing to reach out toward him. Each step felt precarious. "Stay calm, Grayson," he whispered to himself. "Just find shelter and figure out a way to signal for help." Unbeknownst to him, a pair of curious eyes watched from the shadows. Leah, a slender being with blue-hued skin and large, glowing eyes, crouched silently on a branch nearby. She had never encountered a creature like this before. Its pale skin, unusual clothing, and awkward movements piqued her interest and caution. Her heart raced as she observed this newcomer. Was he a predator come to threaten her people? His teeth looked sharp, his demeanor cold and foreign. Gripping her spear tightly, she prepared to defend herself if necessary. Roy pushed deeper into the dense foliage. His senses heightened. The air buzzed with strange bird calls and the chirping of insects. Suddenly, a terrifying screech shattered the jungle's tranquility. He spun around just as a monstrous six-legged beast lunged at him, its razor-sharp claws and dripping fangs poised to attack. Roy's instincts kicked in as he dove to the side, narrowly evading the creature's initial strike. With adrenaline surging, he rolled to his feet, brandishing the piece of wreckage like a weapon. The beast circled him warily, its multiple eyes locked on him. Roy's mind raced as he sought a weakness in the creature's defenses. When it lunged again, he was ready. He sidestepped the attack and swung his makeshift weapon down onto one of its legs. It let out a piercing cry of pain and rage. Leah observed the fierce struggle with increasing fascination. This strange being fought with remarkable skill and courage against one of the jungle's deadliest creatures. Perhaps she had misjudged him. The fight continued, and Roy found himself barely keeping pace with the relentless beast. His muscles burned as he defended himself, searching for an opening. Just when it seemed the creature might overpower him, he spotted a chance. He feinted to one side, then drove the jagged weapon deep into the beast's throat. As the creature let out a gurgling roar, it collapsed to the ground. Roy stood over his vanquished foe, breathing heavily as he tried to regain his composure. "Not today, you ugly." His triumphant moment was abruptly interrupted by a low rumble that shook the very earth beneath him. Before he could react, a massive tree came crashing down. When the dust settled, he heard a pained cry emanating from beneath the fallen trunk. Without a second thought, he rushed toward the sound. There, pinned under a huge branch, lay a humanoid figure unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin was a delicate blue, with intricate patterns covering her face and arms. She looked up at him with wide, expressive eyes filled with a mix of fear and wonder. "Hang on, I'll get you out," Roy said, even though he knew she likely wouldn't understand him. He braced himself against the branch and strained to lift it. His muscles protested, but gradually, he managed to shift enough weight for the alien woman to wriggle free. Leah scrambled away, wincing in pain from her injured leg. She studied the strange creature who had saved her life, her earlier certainty about his violent nature crumbling away. Roy approached Leah slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Are you okay?" he asked gently, knowing his words were meaningless but hoping his tone conveyed his concern. Leah's large eyes examined him with curiosity. After a moment of hesitation, she spoke in a melodic language that Roy couldn't comprehend. She gestured to her injured leg, then pointed at Roy and mimicked his fighting stance against the beast. Roy nodded, understanding her attempt at communication. Yeah, that was a tough fight, but you're hurt. Let me help. He took a cautious step closer. Leah tensed but didn't pull away. Roy knelt beside her and carefully examined her leg. It was bruised and swollen but appeared to be intact. He tore a strip of fabric from his flight suit and began to wrap it around her injury. As he worked, Leah's initial wariness shifted to curiosity. She tentatively reached out and touched Roy's hair, marveling at its texture. Roy chuckled, causing Leah to jump slightly. Sorry, he said with a smile. I guess I look just as strange to you. Leah tilted her head, then pointed to herself. Leah, she said clearly. Roy's eyes widened in surprise. Leah. That's your name. He touched his chest. Roy. I'm Roy. Roy, Leah repeated, her accent giving it a musical quality. Their moment of connection was interrupted by a distant roar that made them both freeze. Leah's expression grew serious as she urgently gestured for Roy to follow her. I guess we better move, Roy muttered, helping her to her feet. Together, they ventured deeper into the alien forest. As they walked, Leah began pointing out various plants and creatures to Roy, mimicking which ones were dangerous and which could be useful. She demonstrated how to move silently through the underbrush and how to spot the subtle signs of hidden predators. Roy listened attentively, realizing that his survival hinged on this crash course in alien ecology. He marveled at how Leah communicated with the forest, seeming to sense dangers before they appeared and discovering safe paths through treacherous terrain. As night fell, the forest illuminated with a surreal glow. Bioluminescent creatures flitted through the air, and the trees pulsed with an inner light. They made camp in the hollow of a massive tree, its phosphorescent bark providing a soft, comforting illumination. This place is amazing, Roy murmured, gazing out at the enchanting landscape. Leah smiled, pleased that he appreciated her world. They shared a meal of strange yet surprisingly delicious fruits that Leah had foraged along their journey. As they ate, Roy attempted to explain his presence on this planet through gestures and crude drawings in the dirt, mimicking a ship flying through space before crashing. Leah's eyes widened with understanding. So you're not from this world, she said in her own language, hoping he would grasp her meaning despite the language barrier. Roy shook his head, pointing upwards at the unfamiliar stars visible through the trees. I came from up there. A long way from home. Leah's expression softened with empathy. She reached out and squeezed Roy's hand, a gesture of comfort that transcended language. As they settled down for the night, Roy found himself amazed by how quickly his perception had shifted. Just hours ago, he had felt lost and alone in a hostile alien world. Now, he had an ally, and perhaps even a friend, in this strange and beautiful place. On the third day of their journey, they crested a hill and beheld the Larian settlement sprawled below them. It was a breathtaking sight, a city seamlessly integrated into the living forest, structures of living wood and stone spiraling high into the canopy, connected by vine bridges and platforms nestled among the giant trees. Leah's face lit up at the sight of her home, but Roy felt a surge of apprehension. How would her people react to his presence? As they approached the outskirts of the settlement, they were met by a group of armed Larian warriors. Their leader, a tall and imposing figure adorned with intricate markings on his blue skin, stepped forward. Leah, he said, his voice a blend of relief and concern. We feared you were lost. Who is this stranger you bring among us? Leah spoke rapidly, gesturing to Roy and mimicking their shared journey and battles. The leader listened intently, his expression unreadable. Roy stood still, acutely aware of the weapons trained on him. He slowly raised his hand in a gesture of peace. I come as a friend, he said, knowing his words wouldn't be understood but hoping his tone would convey his intentions. The leader, Commander Torek, scrutinized Roy for a long moment before speaking. I am Torek, he said, touching his chest. Then he pointed to Roy, raising an eyebrow in question. Roy. He replied, relieved at this small step towards understanding. Roy Grayson, Torek nodded, then turned to his warriors. After a brief discussion, he motioned for Roy to follow them into the settlement. As they entered the living city, Roy was overwhelmed by the sights, sounds, and smells of this vibrant community, realizing that his journey was only just beginning. Sights and sounds enveloped him as a diverse crowd of all ages halted to gaze at the unusual pale figure in their midst. Children peeked from behind their parents, eyes wide with wonder. They were guided to a large central structure, its walls animated with bioluminescent designs that shifted and danced. Inside, a council of elder Lanari awaited their arrival. Roy stood before them, feeling very much like an alien on trial. Leah stepped forward, speaking passionately about their journey and Roy's heroics. She recounted how he battled the beast, rescued her from beneath the fallen tree, and faced the various dangers of the forest. As she spoke, Roy noticed the elders' expressions evolving from skepticism to interest. When Leah concluded, Toic addressed the council, "This stranger has displayed courage and honor. He has protected one of our own and shown remarkable skill in navigating our realm. I believe he could be of great assistance in our ongoing struggle against the predators that threaten our people." The elders deliberated among themselves, their melodic language rising and falling as they discussed. Eventually, the oldest among them stepped forward to address Roy directly. "Roy Grayson," she said, her accent rendering his name both exotic and strange. "We welcome you to our home. You will stay with us and help defend our settlement. In return, we will assist you in learning our ways and, if possible, finding a way for you to return to your world." Overwhelmed by their acceptance, Roy bowed his head in gratitude. As the meeting concluded, Leah took his hand and led him out into the settlement, pointing out various structures and teaching him the Lanari words for them. In the following weeks, Roy immersed himself in Lanari culture. He learned their language, studied their technology, a captivating blend of organic and mechanical elements, and trained alongside their warriors. He was astounded by their profound connection to the living world, a symbiosis beyond anything he had ever encountered on Earth. Leah became his constant companion and guide, her initial caution transforming into deep friendship and burgeoning affection. They spent countless hours exploring the forest, with Leah educating Roy on the intricacies of SAR's ecosystem while he shared stories of Earth and his experiences among the stars. One evening, as they sat atop Tobe, a high branch overlooking the settlement, Leah turned to Roy with a serious expression. "Roy," she said, her command of his language improving daily, "why did you come to Kar?" Sighing, Roy gazed up at the alien constellations above. "It wasn't planned. I was on a routine patrol mission when my ship malfunctioned. I barely managed to reach your planet before crash landing." He paused, a wave of homesickness washing over him. "I don't even know if anyone realizes I'm missing." Leah placed a comforting hand on his arm. "You have found a new home with us, Roy. Perhaps fate led you here." Smiling at her, warmth spread through his chest. "Maybe you're right. I've experienced things here I never imagined and met people, met you, that have changed me in ways I'm only beginning to understand." Their eyes locked, and for a brief moment, the vast differences between their species seemed to vanish. Leah leaned closer, her luminous eyes searching Roy's face. Just as the moment seemed to reach its peak, a piercing alarm shattered the night air. Roy and Leah jumped to their feet, instantly alert. Below, Lanari warriors rushed to defensive positions. In the distance, a dark cloud advanced swiftly, a massive swarm of deadly flying creatures that had plagued the Lanari for generations. "We must help!" Roy shouted, scrambling down from their perch. Leah followed closely behind, her agile form easily keeping pace. They reached the ground just as Commander Torque organized the defense. "Roy! Leah!" he called. "We need your assistance. This swarm is larger than any we've encountered before." Roy's mind raced, recalling everything he had learned about Lanari ecology. Suddenly, an idea struck him. "The bioluminescent plants," he said urgently. They repel certain predators, right? Leah's eyes widened with understanding. Yes, but we've never had enough to create a barrier large enough to protect the entire settlement. We don't need to protect the whole settlement, Roy explained quickly. We just need to disrupt their swarm formation. If we can scatter them, they'll be much easier to deal with individually. Torque nodded in agreement. It's worth a try. What do you need? Roy rapidly outlined his plan. Teams were dispatched to gather as many glowing plants as possible while others prepared slings and other weapons. Roy and Leah worked together to create a network of platforms high in the trees, positioning the bioluminescent flora for maximum effect. As the swarm drew closer, the air filled with an ominous buzzing. Roy could now see the individual creatures, each the size of a large bird, with razor-sharp mandibles and glistening stingers. Now! Roy shouted, and the Lanari defenders activated the bioluminescent plants simultaneously. The brilliant, pulsating light flooded the air, causing the swarm to falter and break formation. The ensuing battle was chaotic and intense. Roy and Leah fought side by side, using slings to pick off the disoriented creatures as they attempted to regroup. Lanari warriors darted through the trees, engaging the scattered enemies with spears and nets. For hours, the fight raged on. Roy lost count of how many of the creatures he had downed, his arms ached, and cuts and bruises covered his body. Yet, every time he felt his strength waning, he caught sight of Leah or another Lanari fighting valiantly and found a new reserve of energy. Finally, as dawn broke, the last of the swarm retreated. A cheer erupted from the Lanari, their voices harmonizing in a haunting victory song. Roy slumped against a tree, exhausted but exhilarated. Leah rushed to his side, her eyes sparkling with a mix of concern and pride. You did it, Roy. Your plan saved us all. Roy smiled wearily, squeezing Leah's hand. We did it together. I couldn't have done this without you. As the Lanari began to tend to their wounded and assess the damage, Commander Torque approached Roy and Leah. His face bore the marks of fatigue, but his eyes radiated respect. Roy Grayson, Torque said solemnly, you have proven yourself a true friend to the Lanari. Your courage and quick thinking have saved many lives today. You are no longer a stranger among us, but a brother. Roy felt a lump in his throat, overwhelmed by the acceptance and trust he had earned. Thank you, Commander. I'm honored to stand with the Lanari. In the days that followed, Roy's recovery blurred with celebration. The Lanari held a grand feast in honor of their victory, with Roy as the guest of honor. He found himself sharing tales of Earth and his adventures among the stars while learning more about Lanari history and culture. During one storytelling session, a young Lanari scout burst into the gathering, eyes wide with excitement. A ship! He exclaimed breathlessly. A ship from the sky, like the one Roy described. The news sent shockwaves through the assembly. Roy's heart raced. Could it be a rescue mission from Earth? He turned to Leah, seeing a mix of emotions on her face, hope for his sake but also a flicker of fear and sadness. Commander Torque quickly organized a party to investigate, with Roy and Leah at its center. As they approached the clearing where the ship had landed, Roy's heart raced at the sight of a familiar Earth vessel. His breath caught as the ship's hatch opened and a figure in a captain's uniform stepped out. Captain Chen. Roy gasped, recognizing his superior officer. Chen's eyes widened as she took in the scene, Roy, clad in a mix of his tattered flight suit and Lanari garments, standing among the aliens. Grayson. Chen called. Instinctively reaching for her sidearm. What in the world is happening here? Roy stepped forward, hands raised in a calming gesture. It's okay, Captain. These are my friends. They saved my life and helped me survive on this planet. Chen's gaze darted between Roy and the Lanari, her training clashing with the unexpected situation. We've been searching for you for months, Grayson. When we received the distress signal from your crashed ship, we feared the worst. Roy felt a wave of guilt wash over him. "I'm sorry, Captain. There's so much to explain." He turned to Leah and the others, switching to Lanari, but Chen's expression hardened. "No time for this. We have to leave now." Alarm and confusion spread among the Lanari. And Roy stepped forward. "You can't just take me back like this. I have responsibilities here now." Chen's eyes narrowed. "We're under orders to extract you. You pose a risk to your own people now." Roy felt torn, his heart racing. Here was a chance to return home, to see familiar faces and landscapes again, but another part of him, growing stronger each day, was hesitant to leave this world and the bonds he had forged. He glanced at Leah, her expression filled with uncertainty and pain. "I need time to think," Roy finally said, feeling the weight of his decision. "You'll have to grant me that." Chen opened her mouth to protest but was interrupted by Commander Torque. "You will not take him away without due consideration. We have just celebrated victory together. Roy has fought with us, shared in our struggles, and learned our ways." Chen's expression softened slightly at the warrior's defense of Roy. "And what do you expect him to do here, among you?" Torque stepped closer, his stance firm. "He can choose to stay and help us fight against the ongoing threats to our home or return to a world that has forgotten him." Roy took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their words. The Lanari were his friends now, his family. "I choose to stay," he finally declared, a rush of certainty coursing through him. "I have found my purpose here." Chen's expression hardened, but before she could respond, Roy turned to Leah, who looked at him with a mix of relief and hope. "I'm glad," she said softly, reaching for his hand. As the tension began to ease, Commander Torque turned to Captain Chen. "You may report back to your superiors, but know that Roy has made his choice." Chen's gaze flicked to Roy, searching for any sign of regret. Instead, all she found was determination. With a curt nod, she turned and retreated back to her ship. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the forest, Roy felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. The Lanari gathered around him, their songs rising into the night, filling the air with joy and celebration. Roy joined them, a smile spreading across his face as he realized he had found a home. In this alien world, surrounded by these incredible people, he had discovered his place. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Roy felt ready to face it head-on. Leah caught his gaze, her expression filled with worry. "What happened? What did you see?" Roy looked at her, his eyes wide, overwhelmed by the enormity of what he had just experienced. "Leah, I think I understand why I was brought here and why my ship crashed on Cellar." It wasn't just an accident. Confusion clouded Leah's brow. "What do you mean?" Taking a deep breath, Roy tried to sort through the torrent of information flooding his mind. "This structure, the beings who created it, they have been observing us, waiting for the right moment to connect our worlds. Leah, I believe we are part of something much larger than we ever imagined." As the weight of his words settled in, Roy and Leah exchanged a look filled with both excitement and apprehension. They both realized that this revelation would alter everything, not only for them but for both their worlds. "What should we do now?" Leah asked softly, her voice almost a whisper. Roy held her hand tightly, drawing strength from her presence. "We need to learn. Explore, and prepare because I sense our adventure is just beginning." As they walked back to the Lanari settlement, Roy's mind raced with the implications of his experience. The visions and insights gifted by the ancient structure were overwhelming, but one thing was undeniable: the connection between Earth and Seer was not mere chance. In the following weeks, Roy collaborated closely with Leah and a select group of Lanari elders to decode the information from the artifact. They spent long hours in the hidden grove, examining the shifting patterns and striving to uncover more of its mysteries. As they probed deeper into the ancient knowledge, a picture began to form, a vast interconnected network of worlds teeming with life. Created by an advanced civilization, it appeared that Earth and Seer were part of this grand experiment, and the time had come for them to rediscover their shared heritage. One evening, as Roy was finalizing his latest report for Earth, Captain Chen's face appeared on his communication device. Her expression was serious. "Grayson, we have a situation," she stated without preface. "Our long-range sensors have detected an unidentified object entering the solar system. It's massive and heading straight for Exer." Roy felt his heart quicken. "Do we know what it is?" Chen shook her head. "Nothing we've encountered before. But based on what you reported about that alien artifact, we can't dismiss a possible connection." Roy nodded, his mind already racing with plans. "How much time do we have? At its current speed, it'll reach Seer in about 3 months, Chen replied. "We're mobilizing all available resources, but we'll need help," Roy finished her thought. "Captain, I think it's time to fully involve the Lanari. We'll need their knowledge and technology to confront this together," Chen nodded gravely. "I agree. Do what you must, Grayson. Earth is ready to assist." After ending the call, Roy hurried to find Leah and Commander Torek. He explained the situation, observing their expressions shift from confusion to concern and finally to determination. "This is what the artifact was preparing us for," Leah said, her eyes glimmering with a mix of fear and excitement. "The unity of our peoples in the face of a greater challenge," Torek nodded solemnly. "We must convene the Grand Council of all Lanari tribes. To confront this threat, we must stand united." The next few weeks became a flurry of activity. Messengers were dispatched to every corner of Cellar, summoning representatives from all Lanari communities. Meanwhile, Roy worked diligently to coordinate with Earth, arranging for scientists, diplomats, and military advisors to travel to Seer. As the day of the Grand Council approached, the Lanari settlement transformed. The living city pulsated with anticipation, its bioluminescent patterns shifting in intricate, anxious rhythms. Delegates from distant Lanari tribes arrived daily, each bringing their own unique perspectives and abilities. On the eve of the council, Roy and Leah stood on their favorite high branch, looking over the lively settlement below. The twin moons of Seer cast a mystical glow over the landscape. "Are you scared?" Leah asked softly, intertwining her fingers with his. Roy reflected on the question. "Yes," he admitted, "but I also feel hopeful. Look at what we've accomplished, bringing our peoples together like this. Whatever comes our way, we'll face it united." Leah rested her head on his shoulder. "When I first saw you in the forest, I never imagined we would end up here," she said, facing the unknown not just for Core, but for Earth too. Roy turned to her, gently cupping her face. "Whatever happens, Leah, know that meeting you and being here has been the greatest adventure of my life." They shared a tender kiss, a moment of solace amid an uncertain future. The next morning, the Grand Council convened at the heart of the living city. Lanari from all tribes gathered alongside the Earth delegation. Roy stood at the center, feeling no longer like an outsider but a bridge connecting two worlds. As he began to speak, laying out the situation and the knowledge gleaned from the artifact, Roy felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. This was why he had crashed on Cellar. Why he had been drawn to this alien world. He was meant to be here, in this moment, helping unite two species against an unknown threat. "We stand at a crossroads," Roy addressed the gathered crowd, his voice resonating throughout the assembly. Earth and Seer, two worlds that until recently knew nothing of each other, now face a common challenge. The artifact has revealed that we are part of something much larger, a cosmic tapestry woven ages ago, and it seems the weavers are returning. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd as Roy's words were translated for those who did not speak English. He noticed the blend of fear and determination on the faces of both humans and Lanari. "We don't know what this approaching object is," Roy continued. "It could pose a threat, or it might present an opportunity. But one thing is certain, we are stronger together than apart. The knowledge of Earth, combined with the Lanari's wisdom and connection to nature, gives us a unique advantage." Commander Torek stepped forward, his authoritative presence commanding attention. "Roy Grayson speaks the truth," he declared. "We have witnessed his courage, adaptability, and dedication to our people. If Earth stands with us, we shall stand with Earth." Captain Chen, representing the Earth delegation, joined them. On behalf of our world, I pledge our full support and resources to this joint effort. We have much to learn from each other, and together we will confront this challenge head-on. As the council progressed, plans were devised and alliances formed. The Lunari agreed to share their bioorganic technology, which could be integrated with Earth's advanced mechanical systems. In exchange, Earth offered its extensive scientific knowledge and spacefaring capabilities. Work commenced immediately. The Lunari settlement became a bustling hub of activity, with Earth scientists collaborating with Lunari craftsmen to develop new technologies. Massive bioorganic structures began to rise, designed to serve as planetary defense systems. Earth ships arrived, bringing advanced sensors and communication arrays to monitor the approaching object. Throughout this process, Roy and Leah worked tirelessly, acting as the essential link between the two species. Their bond deepened with each passing day, their partnership a testament to what could be achieved when different worlds came together. As the weeks went by and the mysterious object drew closer, tension escalated. Despite their preparations, there was no way to be sure they would be sufficient. The artifact had once again gone dormant, providing no further guidance. One night, about a week before the expected arrival, Roy found himself restless and unable to sleep. He strolled through the quiet settlement, marveling at the rapid changes. Earth technology had seamlessly integrated with Lunari bioorganics. Creating a harmonious blend of both worlds, he headed to the newly built command center, a massive structure pulsating with bioluminescent light and humming with Earth computers. To his surprise, he found Leah already there, intently studying the main view screen. "Can't sleep either?" he asked softly, standing beside her. Leah shook her head, her luminous eyes reflecting the starfield on the screen. "I keep worrying about what's coming." "Are we ready, Roy? Have we done enough?" Roy wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "We've done everything we can. Whatever happens next, we face it together, not just you and me, but all of us." Earth and Seer united. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the command center. Screens flickered to life as data streamed in from the long-range sensors. Roy and Leah sprang into action, summoning the senior staff and leadership. Within minutes, the command center was bustling with a mix of Lunari and humans, all staring in awe at the main view screen. The mysterious object had unexpectedly accelerated, covering an impossible distance in mere moments. It would reach Seer within hours, not days, as they had anticipated. As the object approached, its true nature became evident. It was not a ship or a weapon, but a swirling mass of energy, with colors shifting and pulsating in patterns that felt hauntingly familiar. "It's just like the artifact," Leah gasped, her eyes wide with awe. Roy nodded, his heart racing. "This is it," he said, his voice resonating in the hushed room. "This is what we've been preparing for. Whatever happens next." As the energy mass entered Sailor's atmosphere, a strange calm settled over the planet. The sky was filled with swirling colors, casting an otherworldly glow across the landscape. Roy, Leah, and the joint Earth-Lunari leadership team stood outside the command center, mesmerized by the descending phenomenon. Suddenly, tendrils of energy began to extend, making contact with the bioorganic structures they had constructed. Instead of destruction, the structures appeared to awaken, pulsating with newfound vitality. The artifact in the hidden grove radiated a bright light, visible even from their remote location. "It's not an attack," Roy realized in awe. "It's activating something." As if in response, a beam of light shot from the energy mass toward Roy and Leah. Before anyone could react, they were enveloped in a cocoon of swirling colors. Roy felt Leah's hand grip his tightly as their surroundings transformed into pure energy. When the light dimmed, they found themselves in a vast ethereal realm, surrounded by beings of pure energy, their forms constantly shifting and changing. One of the beings stepped forward, communicating directly in their minds rather than through sound. "Welcome, children of Earth and Sailor," the being conveyed. "We are the architects, the ones your legends speak of. We have observed and waited for the day when our seeded worlds would unite. You have surpassed our expectations. Roy and Leah exchanged astonished glances, overwhelmed by the significance of the moment. Roy spoke first, asking, "Why us? Why now?" The being shimmered, exuding pride and urgency. "You, Roy Grayson, and you, Leah of the Line A, represent the finest of your worlds. Your union and ability to bridge the divide between your species exemplify the potential we recognized." Leah stepped forward, her voice steady despite her amazement. "What do you want from us?" "We face a grave threat," the architect explained, "one that endangers not just your worlds, but all of existence. We have awakened the dormant potential within your species, but it is up to you to harness it. The union of Earth's technological prowess and Sailor's bioorganic mastery is key to confronting this danger." Images flooded their minds, visions of other worlds, civilizations rising and falling, and a dark force consuming entire galaxies. Roy and Leah understood the crucial role their united peoples could play in combating this cosmic tide. "We present you with a choice," the architect continued. "Embrace this destiny and lead your people into a new era as part of a galactic community. Or remain as you are, and we will withdraw, leaving you to confront the impending darkness alone." Roy and Leah looked at each other, a profound understanding passing between them in an instant. They nodded in agreement and turned back to the architect. "We accept," they declared in unison. The surrounding space erupted in a spectacular display of light and color. Knowledge flooded their minds, insights into faster-than-light travel, manipulating the fabric of spacetime, and merging consciousness with technology in unimaginable ways. When the light receded, Roy and Leah found themselves back on Sailor, facing a stunned crowd, but they had transformed. Energy flowed through their bodies. And their minds expanded beyond human and Line A limitations. Roy addressed the gathered crowd, his voice imbued with newfound authority. "People of Earth and Sailor, we stand on the brink of a new age. We have been chosen to play a vital role in the fate of the universe." Leah continued seamlessly, "The path ahead will not be easy, but together, we have the strength to confront any challenge. We are no longer just Earthlings or Line A, we are the vanguard of a new united species." As Roy and Leah shared their experience, a wave of purpose and excitement surged through the crowd. The integration of Earth and Sailor technologies took on new significance, each advancement drawing them closer to their cosmic destiny. In the months that followed, transformative changes swept across both worlds. The knowledge shared by the architects accelerated technological and societal progress at an unprecedented pace. Earth and Sailor emerged as beacons of a new interstellar civilization, reaching out to other seeded worlds and guiding them toward their shared destiny. Roy and Leah, forever altered by their encounter with the architects, became the bridge not only between their two worlds but also between their new civilization and the vast cosmos. Their unique bond, a fusion of human and Line A, symbolized the potential of this new united species. As Earth and Sailor's first joint starship prepared for its inaugural journey, Roy stood on the observation deck, gazing at the alien sky he had come to consider home. Leah joined him, her presence a reassuring constant in a universe of change. "Did you ever think it would come to this?" Leah asked, wonder evident in her voice. Roy shook his head, a smile forming. "Never in my wildest dreams. When I crash-landed on Sailor, I thought my life was over. Instead, it was just beginning." They watched as the ship's crew, a harmonious mix of humans and Line A, made the final preparations for launch. The vessel was a marvel, a seamless blend of Earth's advanced technology and Sailor's bioorganic engineering, pulsing with life. More than a machine, it was a living extension of its crew. Captain Chin approached them, her uniform now adorned with symbols of both Earth and Sailor. "We're ready for launch, ambassadors," she reported, a hint of excitement breaking through her professionalism. Roy nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Thank you, Captain. The fate of not only our worlds but countless others rests on this mission." As they made their way to the bridge, Roy reflected on the journey that had led them to this moment. The fears of those first days in the alien forest felt like a distant memory. He navigated the ship confidently. What was once alien line technology now felt as familiar to him as his own heartbeat. The bridge was alive with activity, displaying star charts that would have been incomprehensible just months prior. Roy and Leah took their positions in the command area, their enhanced minds directly interfacing with the ship's systems. All systems are go, Chin reported, awaiting their command. Roy and Leah exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They placed their hands on the bioorganic control panel, feeling the ship come to life around them. "Let's make history," Roy said, his voice resonating with the weight of two worlds. With a thought, the engines roared to life, and the ship gracefully lifted from Sailor's surface, accelerating toward the stars. As they broke free of the atmosphere, a shimmering portal opened before them, marking their first step into the vast network of worlds seeded by the architects. The crew held their breath as the ship entered the portal. For a moment, reality seemed to warp and twist around them, then, in the blink of an eye, they emerged into a new star system, impossibly far from home. Cheers erupted on the bridge as they realized they had succeeded, the first successful faster-than-light journey in the history of their species. But there was little time for celebration. Long-range sensors quickly detected the cosmic threat the architects had warned them about. Dark energy signatures unlike anything they had encountered loomed at the galaxy's edges. "It seems our real work is just beginning," Leah remarked, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the challenge ahead. Roy nodded, squeezing her hand. "Together, we'll confront whatever lies ahead, not just us, but our entire people back home. This is our purpose." As the ship charted a course for the nearest seeded world, ready to make first contact and issue warnings about the impending threat, Roy felt a profound sense of purpose. The journey that began with a crash landing on an alien world had led to this moment, the dawn of a new era for humanity and the Line, united in a cosmic destiny. The stars stretched out before them, full of promise and peril. Whatever challenges awaited them. Roy knew that with Leah by his side and the combined strength of their people supporting them, they were prepared to face the unknown and shape the galaxy's future.